Excuse me for coming in late to the discussion. Once again, 3 days into this job, I don't know kind of the history of the whole discussion prior. When you say bikeway, is it a separate path? Or are you sharing the roads? Are you widening the road? What exactly are you?
Is going to be the number one question you're probably asked. So I look over at the report for that. The bikeway is on already existing roads, and we have no plans to widen it at all. We've looked at the existing conditions. So there's a section of your bikeway that we know is really only suitable for those cyclists that are used to riding near traffic. But most of the bikeway, just because of the remoteness and the hills, is really going to be attracting people who are comfortable in various situations. So, yes.
But it'll be a bike lane?
No.
It's
So you're just riding on the shoulder?
Yeah.
Certainly, the delegation and the public relations.
Sure.
Spend your money here.
And then, but the proponent groups and other communities have identified certain intersections or certain types of pavement they want to advocate for improvement, a better chip seal or pavement instead of chip seal or whatever. And that is something that the proponent groups have actually been very successful in doing. One reason is because the proponent group, if you look around this room, it's a huge diversity of people. It's not just one cyclist calling the county road department and saying, I don't like biking on this road because the chip seal's too high. It's a large group of people saying, can we work with you on getting an improvement here? So we have seen that happen. But the thing of putting in a separate path, I don't think that's on the table.
Those are some of the questions I think that Rick had this morning and want to make sure that I voice. He's got some concern also about liability. My boss
Yes.
the road now, so for Lake County.
Yeah.
So, and then also he's concerned about the safety, area where Deep Creek is. Deep Creek Falls, it's really,
Yes.
windy and narrow there.
Yes.
And a lot of ranchers come in there with their horse trailers and already cutting corners. And so, anyway.
Yes. Can you say that again?
The federal government deals with that, if you're breaking the law, it's outside the scope. So, they're supposed to be in there when they driving as they should.
But I think too, that ranchers with trailers or trucks, whatever, is that because it is so windy, I think they're more careful there because oftentimes there can be wildlife and cattle out on the road there and rocks. So I think that as people who live in the area, I think they don't speed through there. So I think having somebody on a bike, to them it's going to be like somebody else, like wildlife or a cow or a rock. So I think that they pay attention.
I just wrote back on the falls there in Morgantown yesterday. One of the things that I start to really see is that as in the places where I was approaching the corner that's kind of tight to the right, I had a lot of view back behind me as I approached that and entered that, so I could see people coming way back. And then as I went through that area, then I get back clear. So it was really comfortable riding. And I didn't have anybody squeeze me. But one of the nice things about really lower traffic roads and the people that drive, as compared to riding in an urban environment, is the people that drive these lower traffic roads know that if they'll just slow down for a couple minutes, they're going to get by. There's not going to be a big string of oncoming traffic. So my experience is in this kind of environment, virtually all the drivers are. You can't do anything about the few reckless incidents that are happening.
Yesterday, I went through the exact section, when I did, there was a couple of bicyclists with me, and there was 2 rigs that came through with trailers that wanted to have extra life. It was fun. I mean, they were courteous and careful, and they weren't speeding through there. Yeah, I had to concentrate on what I was doing, not the middle lane. As a bicyclist, that's my responsibility. It wasn't, I think I probably saw that.
And I think like Alex said, this is going to be about the people that are comfortable riding the trailers.
That's what I was going to say. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law, I mean, when I look at the elevations and stuff, this is their kind of world. They love that. And they understand that when they're riding, even though they're on two bikes, it's like a tandem, they're right behind each other, and they're within 6 inches of the side, so if somebody comes by, they just know that. And, you know, that's, and they're puffing up that hill, what I saw, it goes 1,000 feet in about 6 miles, I'm like, and I can see these guys chugging right behind each other up on the side. But, you know, this route to me is like, this is not an amateur route, this isn't some old fat guy like me trying it.
Anybody that comes all the way here to do it is going to be a serious sign.
This is not a family route.
And this isn't, you're not going to get people who's,
Yeah.
But
there are family roads.
by definition,
Right.
then there's things 100 miles.
What you might suggest, what we did on ours is a section called, and it's in yellow with a red circle, it's called shoulder. But this is says caution to use it just so on that one section, you might.
I'm gonna need to wrap this up, so thank you all for your comments, it's really, and I can talk more with you from a liability issue,
Please do so, that comes up again and again.
So really briefly, when the roads are open to bikes, the roads are open to cars, they both have these as and we'll work with that. Also, the byway is another thing. It's not saying the road is inherently safe. It's saying it's a pretty place to drive or ride. So that's what we're saying. And with the ride description, which is taken from the bikeway plan that you guys write, and the way we talk to the media about it and the way it's promoted, that's really key to explaining the type of conditions that they will get when they get here, including the really friendly people and the beautiful blue skies and the antelope we saw yesterday. So all that can be in there. Thank you all very much. So we'll just have a few-minute break and then we'll be going for the workshop that Travel Oregon is hosting. Thanks, everyone.
Today, we're going to go ahead and get started. I am Nastasia, which is kind of a hard name, so I go by Staj a lot. If you guys can remember Taj Mahal, Taj Mahal with an S, so Staj. That was a hard name. I'm with Travel Oregon. We're the state's destination and marketing, the state's marketing or tourism marketing and development organization. And so I'm on our development team, the destination development specialist. And you are all at a bicycle tourism studio. So if you're not supposed to be here, raise your hand. No, just kidding. Today we're going to be working really around your scenic bikeway. Your community has proposed to Parks and Recreation a scenic bikeway, which means you feel you have one of the best places to ride in Oregon. You've come up with a great route. Alex and Parks will talk a little bit more about that in a second. But what comes along with getting a scenic bikeway is we, as the state's marketing and development organization, have wanted to participate with these scenic bikeways and help you make them the best that they can be. Help draw more tourism here and more bicyclists, and how we can work together to do that. So it also has been you guys, the community, that has wanted us to come here and do this with you. And so I really just want to thank you all for being here today. I know that it's a beautiful day outside. It's a work day. So I know it takes a lot for people to be there or be here. So I really want to recognize you all for that. And I really also want to recognize we do have a few people in the room today that are actually on our statewide bikeway committee that Parks manages. And so we're really fortunate today because we don't always get people from our scenic bikeway committee here. So we've got Mike Cosgrove, who's hiding over there. He might help some of you sign in. And we've got Doug over here. You guys want to introduce yourself or say anything, what your role is on the committee, or can you represent?
Well, I'm Mike Cosgrove, and I never liked Lakeview because we always came down here and got green in football, but I can't remember who won state last year. Oh, yes, Grant Union. So, no, I'm on the committee as the citizen, but I'm also the proponent of the scenic bikeway called the Old West up in John.
So Mike will probably have some great ideas for you guys today because he's also got a bikeway kind of out in rural eastern Oregon. So,
And I'm Doug Farrell. I am on the Scenic Bikeways Committee. I've actually been on these, as has Mike been on this since the inception of the Scenic Bikeways Committee. I represent advocacy organizations or fill that seat on the Bikeways Committee. I'm retired, personally I'm retired. I live in Kaiser, which is a suburb of Salem, and do a lot of bicycling around there.
and I'm going to introduce Alex. Getting a little hot. For that. And Alex can talk a little bit just about the Scenic Bikeway program, and then just introduce the route super quick, just so people know what a Scenic Bikeway is.
Okay. The Oregon Scenic Bikeway program is a program that designates the best of the best road bike rides in all of Oregon. Most of them are on roads. There's a few that are on off-road paved paths, but most of them, including this one, are on existing roads. And the state parks is who manages the program. We work very closely in partnership with Travel Oregon and with ODOT, and we couldn't do it without either of those as our partners. Travel Oregon does so much of the promotion, and some of that promotion you probably won't ever see because that promotion is geared for people in other parts of the state and other states and other countries. And they also, of course, host this workshop, which is a really great opportunity to work on the bikeway plan. And part of the plan is all about informing the community and what marketing opportunities are out there. And the drought, do you want me to talk specifics?
No, actually, we'll go more into that a little bit later. So that's okay.
Okay, so thanks again for coming, and I'll be talking later about other things if anyone has questions about the bike. Is there one quick question about the bikeway program? Is everyone? The one other thing is that we're hearing a lot about economic development, and that is a very important part of the bikeway program. From the state parks perspective, another very important part that meets the state parks goals as well is promoting outdoor recreation.
Great, thank you, Alex. So, yeah, a couple things I want to add is that what's amazing about our Scenic Bikeways here in Oregon is we're actually the first state to do this. So it's modeled after this Scenic Byways program, the national program that highlights, the most beautiful scenic routes in the nation, which I believe we have more in Oregon than any other state. And so the Bikeways is kind of modeled after that. It's pretty cool that we're the only state in the nation doing that, so we're pretty innovative in that regard. We also have the first bike-friendly business program geared toward travelers, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. We've got some really great things that we're doing here in the state, and Travel Oregon has really looked at bicycle tourism as a really important niche to our state and to really help with economic development. We'll go into a lot more of this in detail, but bicycle tourism is really growing, and we've invested a lot of dollars here in the state, specifically with Travel Oregon, to help increase that and make Oregon one of the most premier places, just really known around the world, around the nation, that this is a great place to come and ride your bike. So we are very excited to work with all the different rural communities around the state and help bring that to them. Does anyone have any specific questions about what Travel Oregon does or the Scenic Bikeways program? No? Okay.
If you could kind of just give an overview of what Travel Oregon means to the state of Oregon and tourism, where the funding comes from, and what you focus on,
thank
why.
you. So we, as I said, we're the state's tourism marketing and development organization. We're called Oregon Tourism Commission, so we actually have commissioners that are appointed by the governor, and we are funded from the 1% lodging tax. So anytime, a lot of times towns have their own lodging tax and counties have their own lodging tax, and those go into their different pots. We have 1% that, all lodging and camping is comes back to the commission, and that's what comes to us. And so we represent and, try to market the entire state as a destination. And so we're called the state's destination marketing organization. So you might have heard the term a lot, DMO or RDMO, that's regional destination marketing organizations. So there's also, we've identified there to be 7 regions in the state for tourism regions. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But so you also have your own regional destination marketing organizations, and then you have local DMOs, which is Tualatin with the Lake Chamber of Commerce. And your regional destination marketing organization would be EOVA, the Eastern Oregon Visitors Association.
We're in Southern.
Oh, you are? Okay, Southern Oregon Visitors Association. I apologize if this is easier. You kind of get both a little bit, right? You're kind of Eastern, South, yeah. Okay. And what's really neat, I think, about Travel Oregon is most state tourism agencies, they really only focus on marketing your state and marketing the assets that you have and the things that you have here in the state. And we're really fortunate in Oregon that we put money into actually development. So most states don't do that. The only other one is Virginia. So we have, not a huge budget. We have a budget though, and we have a development team, which is myself, my coworker Harry. We've got a great coordinator, Linda. So sometimes you'll hear communications from them. And then we've got our fearless leader, Kristen Dahl, who's the director of the program, or this team, the development team, for the last six years. And she's really paved the way for a lot of this work that we do. She started about 4 or 5 years ago, the World Tourism Studio, which some of you may have heard of. And so this bicycle tourism studio is, directly has come out of that World Tourism Studio. And our World Tourism Studio is our premier development program that it takes almost about 2 years to set up in a community. The community services as something that they really see, that they really want to focus on tourism as an economic development piece. And we understand that tourism is not the end-all, be-all answer to a lot of rural communities, but it's definitely an important piece of the pie, especially as we see our extraction-based economies start to change. We have to think about what we can do in the future while also being really present to what our past is and not, just making sure that the sense of place and that the communities is still really alive and well in what you do as you move forward with tourism, and really making sure that it's coming from you guys. It's not that we want to come in and be some top-down approach and say this is what you should do. It's got to come from within the community and what you guys want, So this is why I love doing these workshops and having you all here. It's up, you guys are the ones to make it happen. Does that help? Does that explain a little bit more? Okay, great, thanks. So today, actually, I will say, we also we hire facilitators and consultants at Travel Oregon because we have about 35 staff total. We only have 4 people on our development team, and we have to work around the whole state. So we hire contractors to help us sometimes go around the state and deliver these types of workshops and facilitate them. And so Scott Bricker, which you can see here on the second page, he is usually our facilitator for this workshop. He is going to be a little late today because he was flying in from DC. He is also the executive director of American Walks. He's great. He's got 17 years of experience with bicycling and pedestrian advocacy and development work and planning. So he will be coming in a little later, and we'll kind of be co-facilitating together, but I'm obviously taking over here for the morning. And then we'll talk about a lot of marketing and resources you guys will have from Travel Oregon specifically as your bikeway comes about, and all the great things that we will help you guys do so you don't have to do everything yourself. You don't have to reinvent the wheel and make your own videos and make your own maps per se. We help do a lot of that for you. We'll really dive into the economics and the tourism numbers so you guys can really understand the importance of it and help be proponents in the community to get other people excited about it and other businesses so they understand that this can be a great form of economic development for you guys here. We'll just really go over what a bicycle tourist is and the different kinds and different types of things they might be looking for. And then we're really going to get into your actual bikeway plan that your proponents and here in the community have already developed, and all the the great ideas and strategies that you already have. And we're going to really talk about those and We'll also hear from a couple of locals in the community at about 1 o'clock and some of their ideas. So it should be a really fun, engaging day. Feel free to, ask questions, speak up. We're all going to work as a team, and so yeah. Any questions? Okay, great. I will also just say right here though, if you want later, you can read more about the World Tourism Studio, and that, which is where the Bike Tourism Studio came out of. And then I'll talk about quickly some of the outcomes for today. What we hope is increased awareness of the economic impact of the Oregon tourism industry, which I already talked about. Obviously, familiarity with the bike tourism market and who these folks are that might be coming here. Increased familiarity with the wants and needs, what they might be looking for. A better understanding of what being a bike-friendly business or area looks like. And then talk about the opportunities and constraints you might have here to develop bicycle tourism. One thing we talk about in the Scenic Bikeway Committee is you guys are far away from the where the most of the people are in Oregon. We've got obviously a huge population up in the Portland metro area, so you're going to really have to think about what can we do here? What's really special about your place? What do you guys really love about here? Really think about it. Also, from the outside perspective of what's going to get people to want to come all the way here. Obviously, it's beautiful. You've got great community, great people. People are nice. You got to think of those little extra special things. That are going to be really exciting. People want to head down here. And then, like I said, we'll be going over the management plan and talking more about that. And we got the ground rules on there. I kind of went over that. Okay. All right. So with that, we're going to do a little activity called telling stories. So I'd like for each of you, we all can read this, to kind of go through on your own and answer each of these questions. And to try to spend about a minute on each question or less if you can. We've got notepads. There should be about enough notepads on each table for each of you to have your own to write notes on. I also have some paper here if anyone feels like they want a bigger piece of paper. And then what we're going to do is after we go through and you personally reflect on these questions, I'm going to ask you all to share briefly with each other at your table. So one of you can go and share how you answered each of these questions, and then the next person can go. And obviously we'd love for you all to listen to each other intently. And then what I'll ask you to do after you all kind of share is go over what are your common themes that you had at your table, your differences, and what are some things you think that really need to be accomplished. Okay, everyone, so remember that guy I was telling you about that might show up? No. So that's Scott here. He's here. Thanks so much for getting here, Scott. We've had a long day of traveling. Appreciate you being here.
Oh, it's exciting to be here. It was really actually wonderful. Sunrise, drive.
You want to share anything about yourself? Or?
Well, I've been working with Travel Oregon for the last 4 years to help them facilitate these workshops and work on the Scenic Bikeway, and with Alex as well, and the Rural Tourism Studio, so helping facilitate bicycle tourism projects. I've about 20 years working on bicycle issues, and including 11 years with the Bicycle Transportation Alliance, which is a statewide bicycle advocacy organization. But for the last 4, I've done a lot of work on tourism. This has been a really awesome project, working with great people, and I think really a great project for the state. And I travel around the country now with my full-time job, doing a little bit with Travel Oregon and working in walkable communities, but I still have my eye on biking, and Oregon really is the best place in the country to bike, and people know it, and people understand it and travel from around the country as well as the Pacific Northwest to come here. So it's a great niche, it's a great opportunity to bring people here, and I'm excited to work with you all today.
Great. Thanks, Scott. So we'll finish with our activity, and thank you all so much for taking notes and working at your tables. I'd love to just hear a couple things that you guys came up with. So if we want to go around the room, and if one person wouldn't mind coming to your tables to share the common themes and the differences and what you thought things that you think need to be accomplished. You want to start? She was raising her hand. Janet, okay, thank you, Sharon.
So the things we had in common about we're beneficial to the community, this will be very beneficial. Obviously. The difference is between the three of us, one's a business owner, one's here representing her husband because he's working, and I wanted to learn how to ride bike, so I could go elk hunting. 9 miles into where we're gonna hunt. And I can do that.
That's your bike ride. Is it all your stuff to do? Your first bike ride was at what age?
So when I first, when I was 17, I rode my first bike. So
Great. I love that.
Infrastructure, you need infrastructure. We need a bike shop that can actually repair things and knows about bikes. And there's a lot of different bikes, a lot of material. People come here and if they break down, they're not going to be happy if they don't have anything.
That's a great point.
So we need that. And we need community involvement and support. Businesses have to have related products, family involvement, and exposure in the community so people know that we're having this. That was our thoughts.
Great, thank you so much. Scott, did you get all of that perfectly? Just kidding. I can't spell. We're talking fast. No, thank you. Okay, you guys want to go next? We'll just go around in a big circle. Someone at the table want to share?
You've been appointed the spokesperson to
Well, everybody designs.
That's because I'm right.
I think, we pretty much all came up on our own with the fact that signage is a huge issue here. I think it's really important to make sure that people know where we can go. Along with that goes maps. Again, allowing people to know what's happening in the exposure out there.
Just a quick question. Is there something specific beyond like the scenic bikeway signage that you think would be important? Specifically, or if you had all the scenic bikeway signs for the route, was there some other sign you'd love to see?
I think that the discussion we had was the ability to identify the degree of the ride for different
The safety, that's
parts,
what you guys
safety,
are trying
and
to
also for the
Understanding.
the degree of competence of the rider.
Yeah.
So that Tom here was concerned about his children being able to ride on it.
Just so there's no surprises, you know,
Yep,
how
okay.
far the services are away, you know, is there the next rest stop, is there a bathroom?
Yeah, right, so maps might be really good for that too.
Okay, great, thank
And
you.
then it would go along with the bike-friendly business program would be like the bicycle wheels in the windows of shops to say, wow, we are a community to support cycling and we do like it, and we encourage you to do that. So they're all
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, the differences were difficult because we all agreed on pretty much everything. Tom came up with the idea of the identifying the safety of it. And then, so yeah, and we would like to be able to standardize.
No.
Anyway, we wanted to standardize, work on standardizing the descriptions of routes and the indication thereof throughout the state, throughout our program. You see that on the Travel Oregon map, the scenic bikeways, it does have the amenities where you do have rest stops, you do have bathrooms, you do have water, you know where that is. But there is an awful lot of information out there and it gets a little confusing sometimes. So something that's just really simple that you can have in your community that says we have this with these rides with this many, you know, amenities and standardizing those descriptions because riders have said that our descriptions in our local ride that we've done here, where we say it's a medium ride, they may not think that it is. So we'd like to have that input from you, who are experts with the scenic bikeways, to help us with that.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, next table.
I can talk to this.
And I was the same way, right?
Okay. So some of the common things we came up with is that we all talk about how biking in that area is definitely gaining an interest in several riders, certainly adding to the community is growing, and infrastructure is kind of burgeoning, starting to grow a little bit. Some differences. Many differences talked about safety for the most part. We had some of us thought that safety risks here were greater than others. And our things we need to be accomplished. We want to see greater outside awareness of the community, not so much outside. We'd like to see a bike trail. We'd like to plug in the cycling community, local businesses, and opportunities for here. We'll figure out a vehicle and more promotion.
And what was that last one?
We're gonna have a vehicle to get us to a point where we have more promotion outside
Okay.
here.
Great, thank you. There's a lot of similarities we've got here going around. It's wonderful. We want to start over here? You guys?
Somehow, and that's how we ended up with this awful handwriting. But I somehow got it. So, everyone was interested in improving the economy through bicycle tourism. And everyone pretty much came to biking through family or friends that had biked, and Bob had biked previously, been a big biker. So I really couldn't hear any differences at this table. We were all very much in agreement of that. And one person said they're here to support their daughter. And some of the accomplishments, signage, the start and points, and that the actual signage could work as advertising. Another accomplishment would be state funding, or ask the city and county to help pay for some signs, and I did not encourage that at all, that just came. And one thing that can really help the local communities, can really help bring bicycle tourism to the area, is because the hospitality of all the towns is really a welcoming thing. And then the last one was a community picnic to advertise cycling.
Great.
But they like.
These things are a pain sometimes, so be careful. Okay, hold out here. Here, I'll hold this if you want to hold that. There we go. Good.
Our common theme was to improve the economy through biking, share the Lake County beauty with other cyclists so she can get to stop here. We feel like we need a group hug because those cyclists are quite a crew. And so I think there's some relevance within the community of maybe that happening. I just heard. We didn't have any differences at our table. Scenic Byway to get us on the map, so like everyone was saying, so we have some publications out there that have us. A business buy-in with signage welcoming bikes. And that could be also with bike stands. I've been in several towns where they have cute little bike stands outside every business, and it just makes you, if you don't have your bike, you know, next time you bring it, you can put your bike there. A bike rental shop and/or bike shop. A shuttle service between Willamette and Bend. It's easy, like to take the train and take your bike on the train, but then to get them from the train and climb to here, it'd be nice and some type of shuttle service. And/or from Bend, bring some of those cyclists that are overpowering Bend, get them there. And marketing and maps.
Okay. Great, thank you. And last but not least,
so our common themes were some of the same, I'll just repeat them. Increase economic diversity here with biking, it's outstanding. Increase awareness just of our area and of biking here. Common theme was that we felt that we need to develop the infrastructure and get it all worked out. We didn't have any differences either at our table. And then to accomplish in the next 3 years, plan, and then also the advertising plan and promotion, the infrastructure, which group helped came up at this table too, so yes. And then leadership buy-in. So whether, leadership in all areas, buy-in on bicycle.
okay. All right. And I do just want to add, we, walking around town the last 2 days, I see a lot of locals riding bikes. Saw a lot of bikes in people's yards. So it definitely looks like people are, biking here already, which is wonderful to see.
So I forgot one point which I thought was really interesting. Is that this table was saying that before 10 years ago, the only people you'd see on a bike in Lake County were kids. And all of a sudden, about 10 years ago, adults started riding. And then a few minutes later, they started saying, well, 10 years ago, Cycle Oregon came here too. And I didn't know, it just seemed like very interesting that they're seeing more and more adults riding bikes, which is really neat.
There I wanted to add another point too, if I could. We discussed overlapping facilities like, and I heard this came up, and maybe you said this too, but with the ski hill that we have here, the possibility of utilizing that property for a lift with the mountain bike up the top of the hill and then trails developed back down in some ways. And so that would utilize two different recreational opportunities off season that would move forward with progression.
Okay, great.
So I have one more thing.
Okay, yeah, we'll write it down.
We didn't capture what it was. It's something I really think would be a good idea is, when I first moved here 5 years ago or something, I noticed the murals that we have, and Lakeview has some really nice ones around, especially the hang gliding one. And I thought that was such a unique thing, and having something like that for bikes and things would be really huge. Just when people pass through the river, I 140, that they start to associate Lakeview with that.
Excellent. Are there any other things that people want to share? Anything, any threads that you heard that maybe you want to build on?
Yeah. I'd like to go back to the unique differences. I was interested in the brew pubs, and somebody spoke to me about this the other day. We don't have a brew pub. In fact, we are a unique community in as much as we don't have things.
We have the minimalistic approach.
The reason I say it like that is because in my business, and I own a motel, I'm on the sharp end of people coming through town looking for facilities that we do not have. And one of the concerns I have is that if we attract all of these new tourists, is that they're not going to accept us for who we are and what we have. And they want us to be downtown Portland or Bend, and we are not that. So we do have unique differences.
Well, I think that's a very good point to raise, and absolutely, people are going to want things when they come to a community, and that's some of the stuff we'll talk about here today is, this workshop can be a great opportunity and space for some of those ideas to surface. And we have seen after these studios happen and after these bikeways get going that people really see a need and businesses are able to develop, and actually new restaurants open and people add tour services to their already existing business, or bike shops open. Mike Cosgrove has seen that in his community now. They're really seeing a need for a bike shop.
Both our communities have a common problem in that we have to be so unique and good that cyclists will come that extra distance to come to John Day or to come here. I have to apologize. I had to pull out my map and remind myself how to get here. But maybe that's where you guys are unique. Maybe this whole thing about instead of trying to fight where you are the lost Scenic Bikeway. I mean, something along the lines of promoting the fact that you are at the end of the whole program. Yeah, and I think that's attractive.
We got something to add to that. We had a niche meeting a while back when I first got here, and they said that we have less people per square mile than
So to add to your point, I think, yes, there might be some things that develop, which would be great. More jobs and more businesses here would be wonderful. But yes, at the same time, you're never going to be Portland, you're never going to be Bend. But that's also what's going to attract people here, as you guys were saying. That's what's unique and special about our place. People from Portland, I live in Portland, and I get really sick of the city. I have to listen to noise all night long. We don't have that here. That's why I would want to come here. So we don't want you to be in Bend or Portland.
But when you are here, you better have the services.
But I would love a rooftop. I would love beer.
I think one of the things is that there are opportunities to be looked at as there's small business development or even enhancing, and it's not like it's corporate. People don't necessarily want the experience of like a fancy corporate. They want something that is
local feeling, but they might want a local beer as opposed to a Bud Light, even if it's not, you know, and I think that we have that. Oregon communities have started to get that. So it's just more, you can think about it, it may not be everything, and it's not corporate, but it is opportunities for business development or business enhancement that could potentially get someone to stay a little bit longer, spend a little bit more.
And Scott's going to go into a little bit more of this a little later in the day in our presentation, but yeah. Comment?
One thing I'd like to point out, we do have really great benefits walk and sit out. And there's many areas in the Outback that don't have facilities like we do out here.
That's really great. And one thing I will add quickly too is that you guys have pretty good cell service around that whole bikeway, and I didn't think that I would at all. So that is, a lot of the times that is a concern for people. If they are out in the middle of nowhere biking and they feel that their cell phone doesn't work and there might not be a nearby clinic, that they might not want to bike there. So that is a good thing to point out. Okay, great, thank you. This is a great conversation. We had a lot of common things and not a lot of differences, but a lot of accomplishments I think that we can have here in the community. And we're going to move on right now and actually talk a little bit about your, and then actually if you want to go to the third page there, thank you. Throw that up. That whole thing. Yeah, there you go. He's a math person. So this is your scenic bikeway route, and I apologize, it's pretty small, so I also, or like the names of the highways and whatnot. But I have other ones that I can hand out that you guys can look at your table. This is does not going to have your bikeway on it yet because these are all the existing bikeways already. Here's that. Yeah, so I'm going to have Alex talk about your bikeways real quick and just the new extension that's been added to. But then I'm also going to have Chris come up and share a little bit about like, the towns along the route and the roads and what you cross.
So last spring when we got the initial application, the route was actually the lollipop on the route, the stick on the lollipop was a little bit shorter, it ended up there. And at the snow park, maybe I pointed in the wrong place. So it was a loop with not coming all the way into Lakeview. And that is the Bikeway Committee, the State Bikeway Committee and the State Parks recommended we approve that route. We went and looked at it, rated it on our bikes with also ODOT representatives on that. That was recommended, and I said this earlier that of the applications we have received, half of those applications were rejected. So just to get it recommended, we are looking for the best of the best routes in all of Oregon. We're not looking for just a great bike ride, the best of the best. And then after we recommended that route, a couple of folks in the community were scratching their heads and saying, why doesn't this come all the way to Lakeview? And then they asked us to rate what we're calling the extension. Yesterday we went out and rode it, and it was perfect weather, everything was perfect. We saw antelope, I saw Indian paintbrush, I think we could see the cameras. And the Bikeway Committee, the rating subcommittee is recommending to the full committee that the extension also be part of the recommendation. We won't have the final vote on that until August 4th, which is when we meet again. But we are recommending that the full committee do recommend that. There's a whole process to the designation, but I think that's enough for now before I hand it over to Chris to talk about the actual route.
All right, great, thank you. Chris, do you want to come up and share some info about why you guys came up with this route and where it goes and how long it is? And then we can also, we'll open it up to a discussion afterwards and pose some questions and whatnot. Thank you.
So a couple of years ago, I sat down with Audrey Henry, the former chamber director, and we were looking at these series of maps and saying, why is that in this part of Oregon, this huge part of Oregon, there is no dedicated scenic bikeway, and that kind of got me all over this whole discussion we're having today.
So yeah, as you can see, I'll just end real here, sorry, real quick. This is a little map in the corner of the local state. We have 11 scenic bikeways currently that have been officially designated. And as you can see, yeah, there's a whole bunch to the top, half of the state, and there's not a lot down here. So, thank you for seeing a need and doing something about it.
So Aaron and I sat down and started looking at, what's our best opportunity. We have a lot of great places to ride. I have a big map back there. I can show you. We've got about 14 or 16 really good paved rides. But they all have kind of their issues. And one of the things we really want to do is diversify what you can see along the ride, hit as many small communities as we could, and try to hit as many agencies. Because nothing happens in this town, from what I can tell, without a bunch of help from everybody. So we came up with this. It's a 100-mile bike ride. It starts at the fairgrounds, and it goes up, crosses over by Old Smoky, crosses 385, goes up past the ski hill. We really wanted to hit the bike club, and county commissioners have really wanted us to try to incorporate some mountain biking into the ski hill. So we really want to go by there. Want to go through the forest, cross over what do we call it? Anyways, cross over the dry side, get into BLM, so we hit the county, Forest Service, BLM, and cruise out of the communities of Flush and Bell. I think they're really unique communities, and I think they have a lot to offer that other bikeways don't. And that's all I really have.
And so it goes through Adele, did you say Adele or Adele?
I don't say it right.
Adele and Plush and.
I was going to ask a couple of questions of what, some of the communities go through, or if there are any services along the way, water, other things that might be good for cycling and tourists. It's a 100-mile route. It's pretty outback.
Sure. So along the route, we have the Winter Park, Forest Service, Kansas Park. It's got toilet facilities, really good parking. People only do half the route or metric century. When you cruise into Plush, it's got a gas station, store, a park that also has restroom facilities. You can get breakfast, lunch, and dinner, burgers, sandwiches there, and then in Adele, we have the Adele store, and you get all the same there.
Also, we found out at the Adele store is you can camp there. Tent, I think, was $10 to have a tent, or dry facilities for an RV was like $20. That's something they have, which is great. A lot of bikers want to camp or stay in hotels. I didn't see any other hotels, I think, but definitely a lot of hotels in Lakeview, which is great.
Well, there's some rental places in Plush. There's a little bit, not breakfast, but breakfast on the street to Har Mountain Story.
The bunkhouse?
Yeah, the bunkhouse.
Okay, yeah. Someone told me it was closed, but
no, it's open.
Okay, great.
Yeah, well, I just want to, because I haven't been out here for a while, and so I was doing some research just online, and also looking at the map, and it wasn't really clear about those services. I was on like Google Maps, which is something I use all the time, and I just typed in store, and nothing came up along the route. I typed in camping, and a couple of things came up along the route. So you definitely on your map, if there might be some other stuff you could do to populate the other online resources, and there's things that I could help you guys figure that out. But so anyway, that's great. It's great to hear.
And we wanted to showcase a lot of things as well. We have a older study area the road goes by, and some folks here are probably pretty interested in seeing it get promoted. And also, amazing view about the Heart Mountain. We really wanted to incorporate that in the road.
Oh yeah, and beautiful lakes. I saw a beautiful waterfall, beautiful river.
It's probably one of the only places in the state where you'd like to see an antelope and a sheep on the same ride.
I mean, first you come across Camas Valley, so it's very pretty. You get up there, you guys, I think, I don't know what times you do, but you get up there at Graves, and that's a beautiful winter area. Go across that, but you can't spot antelope if you don't have good eyes. There's always deer in that area too. In Plush, they're starting to develop the sunstone stuff there. I don't know what they're going to do, but that might be something for somebody to stop. It's really changes year to year coming from Plush to Adele. When there's lots of water, there's incredible birds and stuff out there. This year is kind of low, I think. I haven't been out there. It's low. It's going to change from year to year. It's just going to change from year to year. There actually was a geyser out there between Bushnell one time, probably more.
I have heard that there's phenomenal birding around here. One thing that we've seen is birding. People love birding, and so maybe, those are ideas as we get farther along in the day, but is some cool itinerary of what types of birds you can see in the area as you bike in, or something to attract, different types of things to people. Another is you guys have some great hot springs around here. Those are wonderful assets. And Tim, were you mentioning, do you want to share what you said you had? I know it's not on the bikeway, but it's of interest in the area.
Because we've got the Tualatin biking sites down in Deuce Lake.
In Deuce Lake, and where is that? That's down here?
We went south, 15 miles south of here.
Okay.
One of the things that Marie came up with for our Kurt Outback ride about this area is more critters than cars.
So especially at night.
That's right.
Well, the other thing I like about this route is lots of ways to extend it. There's lots of, you can go out to Blizzard Gap, leave on 140, you can go all the way to Doherty Slide, you can take the paper all the way up to Refuge. You can ride from Campus Hill Park, ride 15 miles on the paper route up in the North Wonders. And there's lots of variation for folks that want to ride more than just one day. They're already been part of it.
One thing that I found, because I'm relatively new here, is I don't think on any of these other routes you will ever see a night star. We have the most gorgeous views.
But no light pollution.
Zero.
Yeah.
So if you ever get an opportunity to see the United States,
Oh, yeah.
if you ever get an opportunity to see light pollution of the whole country, we're on the edge of the darkest, biggest hole in the nation. Great salt.
Lots of darkness bikeway. Yeah, absolutely.
That's stargazing, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
stay out there, everything happens.
Yeah.
And you can ride 20 miles on this route some days and not see a single car.
Any other questions?
Well, I have a question because I'm a non-biker.
Yeah.
And what you described to me frightens the life out of me.
But in
Going
winter,
out
it's the
into
rest
this, going out into the unknown, into the desert, with no facilities, and 100 miles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so in the world of biking, do people generally want to complete the whole circuit in a day? I've got friends who are bikers and they do these 100-mile rides every weekend. But if they don't do it in a day, is it possible to split it up and then bikers looking for transportation to take them out or to bring them back, that kind of thing?
We'll get, we'll get a lot into this a little bit deeper, especially with Scott's presentation after lunch.
Unfortunately, I have to.
You do have to leave? Okay. Well, we can just quickly answer that question, is there's all different types of bikers and cyclists, and they'll, some of them may just want to ride 30 miles, and that's fine. They could ride out to the place where there's bathrooms and pull off, and they can turn around and come back.
So they have to turn around and come back. What the point I'm making is, in other communities, there's the opportunity for them to grab a taxi back, which we don't have.
I would say most of all the bikeways around the state, it's very similar to like rafters or kayakers or people hiking. You realize that if I'm going to hike somewhere, I can hike back, or I'm going to get my buddy to come pick me up.
Well, we do live in a very safe home community, and I've got several flat tires that will see.
And there are definitely, I can see,
I've got the first person
we've got towns along the way, so that is helpful.
So there are no cars following the sidewalks that they have from.
If I could jump in with a different, there is a shuttle service out of Bend, and that they're very busy. So that is something to consider, because there's different types of cyclists. There are cyclists that use a support vehicle, they'll take turns driving it, or maybe do an organized tour. That's a small section. The other thing is a lot of people do like a lot of services, and they don't love them. And that's not who we need to be reaching out to. There are people, as you can imagine, there are also people that hear about this bikeway program and hear about, let's say, covered bridges over by Cottage Grove, and they hear, there's a bathroom every 5 miles, and it's on a paved path, and there's this and that, and they're like, oh, everyone's going to be there. I want the cool thing, I want the movie theaters, and that's this one. And that is, so we'll be appealing to those folks, and a lot of those things as far as the shuttles, well, maybe that come eventually, but in the meantime, most of them will be self-supported, they'll want camping, they'll want water. The big thing is for the cyclists who are out on their own is to know that when they get to Clutch, they can get water. They don't want to get somewhere, they can get water and then find out they can't. So we are definitely going to be looking to promote this to the people that want that experience, that want that fear that you got when you heard that to them, that's a good feeling. Well, to them, it just feels different, doesn't feel like fear, it feels like adventure.
So we have a problem on.
Pretty much. I mean, there is self-service. It's like anywhere else that, when you have a problem anywhere, you don't have, you're on your own to deal with it. Yeah. Oh, as far as a bike event, exactly. It is definitely not a bike event. Yes.
Now,
more comment?
when they have the hang glider events, okay? Those people, I don't know if they still I've been involved in that for a long time, but they organize volunteer drivers to go out and pick up the hang gliders when they land, which could be anywhere in the whole, there's whole maps that we got up there.
That's the thing too.
That's an event, right? And so it might be that.
So people want that kind of sport to take opportunity to do that.
Yeah,
I see a business opportunity, something to set up.
Exactly.
You know?
We have a whole more section a little bit later dedicated to this type of presentation questions that you guys have. So we'll dive deeper into this. But one more comment real quick, and then we'll do the laundry.
I would say it'd be a perfect thing if someone did open up a bike shop. It would be perfect to also be available to go out for a takeout.
Yeah. I'll just throw here really quick. So one great example of a fellow out in, not somewhere in Eastern Oregon, he had this place called Trio Ranches. He has had a pheasant hunting ranch for 20 years. He employed people half the year during the hunting season. People come from all over the world to come stay at his place in the middle of nowhere. He had to have shuttles, he had to have full, all-inclusive, places to stay or food to eat, everything, plan everything at his little house and, couple of cabins for people to stay. And he went to one of these bike tourism studios and he thought, well, hey, people want a gravel ride, they want to ride their bikes in the middle of nowhere. Maybe I could add onto my business. I already have all the tools and assets I need. And the other half of the year that I'm not pheasant hunting, doing pheasant hunting tours, I could do bike tours. And so he added on that whole component to his company, and it's doing really well. Again, as we talked about in the beginning, as this develops here, you might see some opportunities for personal small business development. Maybe there will be a need, as you're saying, for people will want a shuttle service, and maybe if there is a new bike shop, they can have that as an opportunity. Or if someone already has a business where they have a shuttle, maybe one day a week on Saturdays they could add a bike shuttle thing 2 times a day, or there's stuff like that will be an evolution. All right, great. Thank you, Chris.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Well, what is the objective for this ride?
Okay. All right, we're going to talk about that a lot this morning, so I apologize if you're coming a little late. Okay.
Besides the obvious, health. It's health.
Well, yeah, so really quick, we talked a lot about that this morning, but I'll go over that again real quick. So, we're seeing around the world, and especially, the United States, that bicycle tourism is increasing, and people want to travel and ride their bikes, and people want to have neat experiences and do it by bicycle so that they can slow down and breathe in the fresh air and see the amazing things that there are to see. And so with the statewide Scenic Bikeway program, we base it off the National Scenic Byways program, where you're highlighting beautiful roads that already exist. And we are coming out, and it's getting, they are brought from the public up. The public is saying, we think we have a beautiful road here, and we want the state to have a scenic bikeway here. So that it can be in a map, That it can be on the state's website, it can be promoted through the tourism agencies, through Travel Oregon, through all the local chambers and whatnot. And so to attract people to this area to come and ride the beautiful roads you already have, to also help bring economic development to the area by bringing these tourists here. Is that how?
In your opinion, what is the most needed place on this proposed bike route to have some kind of a facility that would offer camping and water?
I think you already have them.
Out on the, out on the, what's it called?
I mean, you have camping in Adel, and you have camping in Lakeview, and you have camping in the public, on the National Forest land, and you camp in the National Forest. Right? There's camping in Adel, and there's camping in Lakeview.
You go up over the
Well, cyclists are usually pretty prepared to ride 30 to 80 miles a day. I mean, that's what cyclists like to do. So,